All right, all you math people, here we go. We've got lesson 8-5, solving systems by substitution, number 2. So we're going to see a couple of different tweaks that we might need to do as we're solving our systems. We're going to do a little bit harder problems this time. I mean, not super hard, but a little bit harder. Okay, so I've got some steps here that we can follow, and this will basically help us solve even the hardest system problem. Solve the hardest substitution problem. Okay, so step 1, we're going to isolate a variable in one of the equations. Now we can pick any variable, but we should probably pick the easiest variable to get by itself. To me, on this first one, the easiest variable to get by itself is this y right here. Because all I would have to do is move the 2x to the other side. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to isolate that one variable. So I subtract 2x from both sides, subtract 2x from both sides. I end up with y is equal to negative 2x minus 9. Okay, I have now isolated y. I'm ready for step 2. Step 2, substitute into the other equation. So I'm going to take this y value and substitute it into the other equation. The other equation is right here. Just a second, I got a phone call. Ooh, unlisted number, didn't know who that is. Probably trying to sell me something. Or was it one of you guys trying to call me? Who knows? All right, so we're substituting negative 2x minus 9 into this other equation. Here we go. So I'm going to rewrite it, 6x minus 2. And now I'm going to plug in, instead of y, I'm going to plug negative 2x minus 9. Equals negative 2. All right, so this is different from what we did the other day. We never had to do this. What we have is a slightly extra step when I solve for the variable. So I've substituted. Now I'm going to solve for the variable. The variable I'm solving for is x because it's all by itself right there. Okay? I do need to do a little bit extra this time. I'm going to have to distribute. Since there was a coefficient in front of y, after I've substituted in here, I do need to distribute. Remember to multiply to both of those. Okay, so here we go. So we got 6x, negative 2 times negative 2x is positive 4x. Negative 2 times negative 9 is positive 18. Okay, I can't stress this enough. If you are solving systems, it is very easy, because there's multiple things you have to do. It's very easy to make one small error that messes up everything. So when you are solving a system, make sure you're writing neatly and make sure that you're double checking every single step that you do. Now, there is a way to check your work at the end, and that's what we're going to do over here. But if you've written everything neatly, it's really easy to go back and go, oh, I didn't distribute it up here correctly or something like that. If your stuff is all over the place, like some of my students do, so if your work is all over the place, there's no way that you can find out where you've made a mistake. I kid you not, sometimes during these systems problems, I get kids who are in tears because they're so frustrated on the test. And it's because their work is such a mess that they do the problem, verify their solution, and go, oh man, I'm wrong. They can't find it, so they just start the problem over again. Make another error, oh no, I'm wrong. They end up doing the same problem 3, 4, 5, 6 times. That gets frustrating. They know they're wrong because they're checking their solution, but their work is such a mess that they can't go back and find where they made the error. It's way easier to find your error than to just redo the problem all over again. That's frustrating. So make as big of an effort as you can to do your work in a way that is neat, so that if you do make a mistake, you will make mistakes on this stuff. There's so many steps, you're going to make a mistake. So make your work neat enough that if you do make a mistake, you can actually find it. All right, so 6x plus 4x, 10x. Next step, I'm going to subtract 18 from both sides. I get 10x equals negative 20. Division property of equality. I divide by 10 on both sides. On this side, 10 divided by 10 is 1. So I just get 1x or x. Over here, negative 20 divided by 10, I get negative 2. All right, I believe that half of my answer is negative 2. I think my x value is negative 2. I still need to find my y value. Okay, you have a choice at this point. Your fourth step, now that we've solved for that first variable, is to substitute to find the other variable. I know that x is negative 2. I get to plug it into either one. Remember I said last time, do not plug it into this equation. You've messed around with that equation. You might have made a mistake there. So plug it into the original instead. Let's plug it into this one. Looks a little bit easier. So I'm going to write 2, and then instead of x, I'm going to write negative 2. Use parentheses because sometimes you're not sure what happened to that negative, and it's nice. If you don't use the parentheses, it looks like you're subtracting them instead of you're multiplying them. Plus y, because I'm looking for y, equals negative 9. So I have substituted negative 2 in for x, and now I can solve for y, because I need the y value right here. So 2 times negative 2 is negative 4, plus y equals negative 9. I'm going to add 4 to both sides. And I get y is equal to negative 5. All right, I believe my answer is negative 2, negative 5. Now remember, I just got done using this equation. So now that I'm on step 5 to verify my answer, I have to verify it with the other equation. I know it works for this one because I just made it work right here. So now I have to check this one to see if it works, to just verify it does. So I'm going to plug negative 2 for x and negative 5 for y. So we write 6 instead of x, negative 2, minus 2 instead of y, negative 5. Six times negative 2 is negative 12. Negative 2 times negative 5 is positive 10. Negative 12 plus 10, negative 2. Aha! I was right. Doesn't that feel good? Like you know for sure that you got that right? It feels good. Helps me sleep at night. All right, we've got 3 practice problems. So if you think you've got a good idea of what to do on these 5 steps, pause right now and try out those next 3 problems. If you think you need a little bit more time doing this, all right, watch what I do. Here we go. Okay, pause, unpause, whatever. Here we go. All right, so on this one, I think that x is the easiest one to get by itself because it has no coefficient with it. So step 1, I'm going to add 4y to both sides. And that gives me the new equation, x equals 4y minus 1. All right, I am ready to substitute. So I'm on step 2. Step 1, I've isolated. Step 2, I substitute into the other equation. So instead of x, there we go, I'm going to plug in 4y minus 1. All right, I'm substituting as step number 2. So I've got 2. Instead of x, I'm plugging 4y minus 1. And then plus 2y equals 3. All right, I've completed step 2. I have substituted. Step 3, I'm going to solve for y, solve for that one variable there. All right, so let's set this up. I need to distribute here. So let's distribute 2 to 4y and 2 to negative 1. Making sure to make everything neat as I go. 2 times 4y is 8y. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. Plus 2y equals 3. Okay, we're ready to combine like terms. These are on the same side of the equation. So 8y plus 2y is 10y. All right, now I'm going to use my addition property of equality and add 2 to both sides. That leaves me with 10y equals 5. Now I'm going to divide by 10 on both sides. Don't freak out, this is a fraction. We've got y equals 5 over 10 reduces to 1/2. Yes, sometimes you will get fractional answers, and it's okay. So I think that my y value is 1/2, or 0.5 if you feel like doing a decimal. Okay, that is step 3. Step 4, I'm going to substitute my y value into one of these 2 original equations. I'm going to do it with the top one. Okay, so let's do the top equation. I do 2x plus 2, and then when I get to y, now I plug in 1/2 equals 3. Okay, so 2 times 1/2, remember you multiply by the number on top, you divide by the number on the bottom. 2 times 1 is 2, and 2 divided by 2 is 1. So we get 2x plus 1 equals 3. I will now subtract 1 from both sides. Oh, I forgot to use the other color. Oh, gosh. And I get 2. So I subtracted 1 from both sides and got 2. And now I'm going to divide by 2 on both sides. X is 1. So I think my answer is 1/1/2. Ooh, you can see it. Sorry about that. Okay, we are on step 5. Verify that our answer is correct. I just got done using the top equation, so now I'm going to verify the bottom equation works. Here we go. So I'm going to just shove it down here. All right, so I'm going to verify. I do x, which is 1, minus 4 times 1/2, because y is 1/2, equals -1. I can already see this is going to work. Yep, it's going to work. So -4 times 1/2. -4 times 1 is -4, divided by 2 is -2. I get 1 minus 2 equals -1. Yeah, and 1 minus 2 is -1. I got it right. First try. Nice job. Next one. I would probably isolate the top equation first because I've got the y here, but it's going to need 2 steps on this one. Let's kind of do the work up here. So I've got 5x minus y equals 3. Let's subtract 5x from both sides. That gives me -y equals, these cancel, -5x plus 3. Okay, y is not isolated. I still need to isolate. I'm going to divide everything by -1. So I'm left with y equals -5 divided by -1 is positive 5x. 3 divided by -1 is -3. Okay, so I think that is the top equation, but now just written in slope-intercept form. So I'm going to substitute now. Instead of y on the other equation, which would be the bottom equation, I am now plugging in 5x minus 3. All right, so step 1, I've isolated. Step 2, I'm going to plug in for y. Set it up. So I got 3x plus 2. Instead of y, we are substituting 5x minus 3 equals 7. So 5x minus 3 is what y is. Okay, step 3, let's solve for that variable. Okay, I'm going to distribute first. That leaves me with 3x. 2 times 5 is 10x. 2 times -3 is -6 equals 7. I'm now going to combine my like terms. 3x and 10x gives me a total of 13x. I'm going to use the addition property of equality and add 6 to both sides of the equation. That leaves me with 13x is equal to 13. Now I'm going to use the division property of equality. I'm going to divide both sides by the same number. It appears as if x is 1. Okay, at this point, we're going to plug it back into one of the equations and see what we get for y. We are on step 4. We're going to take this x equals 1 and plug it into one of these two. I'm going to plug it into the top one because I'm feeling saucy. So I do 5. Instead of x, we plug in 1, and then minus y equals 3. 5 times 1 is 5. I use the subtraction property of equality. Subtract 5 from both sides. That leaves me with negative y equals negative 2. And then I'm going to use the division property of equality and divide by negative 1 on both sides. That leaves me with y equals 2. All right, I think I've got my answer. It appears as if my answer is 1, 2. Let's double check. So I know it works in the top equation because I just got done plugging it in there. So let's check and see if it works in the bottom equation. So we're going to do 3 instead of x, we're going to plug 1 plus 2. Instead of y, we plug in 2 equals 7. Okay, so 3 times 1 is 3. 2 times 2 is 4. 3 plus 4 is 7. 7 equals 7. I was right the whole time. It is 1, 2. All right, last one. I think that the x is the easiest one to get by itself. So I'm going to add y to both sides. That would leave me with x equals y minus 7. Okay, I'm going to take y minus 7 and replace, there you go, plug that in for x right here. That's step number 2. Step number 1, I isolated x. Step number 2, I'm going to substitute in y minus 7 for x. So 2, and then instead of x, I'm going to write y minus 7 plus 3y equals 31. Okay, now we solve it. We're on step number 3. We're going to solve. Let's distribute first. 2 times y is 2y, in case you didn't know. 2 times negative 7 is negative 14. All right, now we can combine like terms. 2y and 3y makes 5y. Addition property of equality. I add 14 to both sides. That leaves me with 5y equals 31 plus 14 is 45. Division property of equality. I divide by 5 on both sides. I get y is equal to 9. All right, I think my answer is something 9. I just need to know what the x value is. So now I'm on step 4. I substitute to find the other variable. Now I get to pick which equation. We're going to use the original equations. I'm going to use the bottom equation right here. So I'm going to do x minus 9 equals negative 7. So x minus 9 equals negative 7. At this point, I would add 9 to both sides. Well, this was easy. I get x equals 2. So I believe my answer is 2, 9. I don't know that's my answer. I will know the answer is that when I plug it into the top equation. I just got done using the bottom equation. So now I'm going to plug my answer into the top equation to see if it works. Here we go. 2, instead of x, I plug in 2. Plus 3, instead of y, I plug in 9. Equals 31. 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 9 is 27. 4 plus 27 is 31. Glory, hallelujah. We are done, people. We were right. It was 2-9. Isn't that great? You get to know you're right at the end of these problems. Yes, there is a lot of work to get there, but this is why we are checking our answer. There's so many steps you can make a mistake in. All right, be slow, be methodical, be neat, and check your answers. And I'll see you on the next one. All right, see you guys. Bye-bye.